When the principal called my son a feelingless robot in front of his class, she thought she'd get away with it. But she didn't know I had proof, a journalist and a plan. Now she's jobless, exposed, and her secret ally isn't so secret anymore. That's what the principal said about my son, in front of his entire class. No warning, no compassion, just those 10 words: sharp, humiliating, and cruel. I found out about them in the most soul-shattering way possible. When my 10-year-old son curled up on the floor of our hallway, sobbing so violently I thought he couldn't breathe. Let me back up. My name is Elena Porter. I'm a 36-year-old emergency nurse and a single mom to the most brilliant, gentle kid I've ever known. Liam. He's 10. He has Asperger's. He loves planets, builds telescopes out of scrap, and knows more about Saturn's moons than most of NASA. He also hates eye contact, flinches when he hears yelling, and sometimes gets overwhelmed in crowds. That doesn't make him broken. It makes him Liam. When I got a new job offer in a small, picturesque town 2 months ago, I thought it was a fresh start. Good pay, better hours, a quiet, safe community. And the local private elementary school? The town swore by it. Best teachers, academic excellence. We nurture future leaders. So I enrolled Liam. At first, things seemed fine. He was anxious, sure, but he always is when adjusting to change. He mentioned his new teacher, Ms. Benson, who, surprise, was also the principal of the school. A bit cold, he said. Not funny like Mr. Pritchard from his old school. But I figured it was just the difference between public and private school. I told myself to give it time. Then last Monday happened. I came home from my shift around 4:30. Liam usually greets me with some science fact or shows me what he's drawn. That day, nothing. No sound. Just the soft creak of the floor as I stepped into the hallway and saw him there, curled up like a turtle in his hoodie, shaking. Liam? I whispered. Baby, what happened? He didn't look up. His shoulders jerked, and when I finally pulled his hood back, I saw his face. Red, streaked with tears, snot running down his lip. My heart dropped. It took nearly half an hour to get it out of him. Every time he tried to speak, he hiccuped or stuttered so hard it hurt to watch. But slowly, painfully, the words came together. Ms. Benson had asked the class to present short speeches about someone who inspired them. Liam, who had chosen Carl Sagan, stood up and started reading his note cards. He stuttered, of course, especially when nervous. That's when Ms. Benson interrupted him, loud enough for the whole class to hear. Liam, maybe next time you write about someone who actually knows how to speak. You sound like a broken robot. Then laughter, from the students, because they were encouraged to laugh, by their principal. I sat on the floor next to him, my hand clenched into a fist, feeling a level of rage I didn't even know I was capable of. I wanted to march right down to that school and drag that woman by her hair in front of the superintendent, but Liam was trembling next to me. And I knew I had to be calm. For him. I held him, rocked him like when he was 3 and used to have meltdowns after daycare. I whispered, "You are not broken. You are not a robot. You are my favorite human on this planet." He looked up at me and asked, "Is it bad to be different, Mom?" That question broke something inside me. That night, after Liam fell asleep, I sent a long, detailed email to Ms. Benson. No rage, just facts. I asked for clarification. I asked if what Liam said was true. I asked for her to explain her words. Her response came the next morning. "Elena, I think there's been a misunderstanding. In our environment, we challenge students to grow. Sometimes that means pointing out areas they need to work on. Liam is a bright boy, but this may not be the right setting for children with special considerations. Regards, Principal Benson." Not an apology, not even a denial, just a thinly veiled suggestion that my son didn't belong in her perfect school. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I started watching. I picked Liam up early from school twice that week, claiming dentist appointments. I waited in the hallway outside the classroom, just long enough to catch glimpses of how Benson treated him. The eye rolls when he raised his hand, the smirk when he struggled with a word, the way she skipped him for class participation but called on everyone else. She wanted him invisible. Quiet. Unbothering. But Liam wasn't invisible to me. And I wasn't going to let her bury him like he was some defective circuit board in her machine of excellence. Then I overheard 2 moms at drop-off on Friday. Can't wait for the gala next weekend. Benson's really going all out this year, hoping for a board seat if the fundraising goes well. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about Liam. I didn't sleep that night. That anonymous text kept echoing in my mind. Don't show up tomorrow if you know what's good for your kid. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't vague. It was a threat. And it was about Liam. Every instinct in my body told me to pull the plug. Stay home. Keep my son safe. But every time I looked at his face, the face of a child who had been publicly humiliated by the very person meant to protect him, something hardened in me. I'd spent years teaching Liam to stand up for himself. Quietly, respectfully, but firmly. And now it was my turn to do the same. So the next morning, I put on my black dress, the one I hadn't worn since his third-grade play. Liam wore his little clip-on tie and a galaxy print button-up. He was nervous, fiddling with the hem of his sleeves. "Do I have to talk to anyone?" he asked as I helped him with his shoes. "Nope," I said, smoothing his hair. "You just sit with me, eat some cookies, and enjoy the music. That's it." He nodded, but I could tell. He felt something was off. When we arrived at the school auditorium, the place was already buzzing. Parents, donors, even a few city council members were sipping punch and shaking hands. The PTA gala wasn't just a fundraiser. It was Benson's coronation ceremony, and she was playing queen. There she was, on stage, holding a clipboard, barking orders at the AV crew with a smile so bright it looked like it had been rehearsed in front of a mirror. Her eyes landed on me, and froze. She wasn't expecting me. Her smile didn't falter, but I saw the twitch in her jaw, the flicker of discomfort. Good. I took my seat near the front, right next to Liam. My journalist friend Kara arrived shortly after, blending in as just another well-dressed parent. We exchanged a nod. I'd already forwarded her everything, statements from other parents, Liam's account, and Benson's smug email. It was almost time. The lights dimmed. Benson took the stage. "Welcome, everyone. Tonight we celebrate excellence, dedication, and the bright futures we're building together at Westbridge Academy." Polite applause. Nothing wild. She launched into her speech. Glossy. Flawless. Talking points about nurturing every child, personalized education, and my favorite, inclusion. I felt my nails dig into my palm. She introduced several students. Her favorites, the high achievers, the shiny ones. Gave them awards. Hugged them on stage. Liam watched quietly, clutching my hand. Then came the slideshow. It was a compilation of classroom moments, kids painting, playing, speaking at assemblies. Photos flashed across the screen with uplifting piano music. And then, there he was. Liam, frozen mid-stutter, face red, shoulders slouched in discomfort. Captioned underneath with the words, "Courage comes in all forms." I gasped. She used him. She used my child's worst moment, the one she created as a damn prop to sell her narrative of growth and inclusion. Liam's grip tightened on my hand. "Why did she show that?" he whispered. I couldn't answer. My throat was too tight, my vision blurring at the edges. I turned to Kara. "Post it," I said. "All of it. Now." She nodded, opened her phone, and hit publish. 2 minutes later, everyone's devices buzzed. One by one, heads dipped, screens lit up, murmurs began. Kara's article had gone live. Principal of elite school accused of mocking autistic student using disabled children for PR, with screenshots, statements, quotes, Liam's story, all of it. The article spread like wildfire. And just like that, the room turned. Parents stopped clapping. Some were reading aloud. One mom near me gasped and turned to her husband, whispering angrily. Benson noticed the shift. She paused, fumbled her next sentence. Then one parent stood up. "I'd like to know if these allegations are true," he said, loud and clear. Another voice joined in. "Is this why my son was pushed out of your program, Ms. Benson?" Her face flushed. She stammered something about misinformation and targeted defamation. But no one was listening anymore. The crowd began talking over her. The spell had broken. I looked down at Liam. He was confused, overwhelmed. But I saw it. The tiniest flicker of a smile. Because for once, no one was laughing at him. That should have been the end. That should have been the victory. But life doesn't work that cleanly. Because that night, after I tucked Liam into bed and sat down with a cup of tea to finally exhale, I got another text. Not anonymous this time. A name was attached. Cynthia Benson. "I hope you feel clever, but this isn't over. You just started something you're not ready for. See you Monday." My stomach turned. It wasn't a threat this time. It was a promise. I should have known she wouldn't go down quietly. When I got that message from Principal Benson, part of me wanted to believe it was just empty bravado. A desperate woman trying to save face after being exposed. But deep down, I knew better. People like her don't lose gracefully. That Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the gala in my head. The flicker of panic on her face, the room turning against her. Liam finally getting the silence and respect he'd been denied for so long. It should have been satisfying. but all I felt was dread. I dropped Liam off Monday morning with more hugs than usual. He was still glowing from the weekend, still talking about how people had clapped after his photo came up. He didn't understand the cruelty behind it yet. I wasn't ready to shatter that for him. When I arrived at work, I already had 3 voicemails waiting. 2 were from other parents thanking me for finally doing what no one else had the guts to do. The third was from the superintendent's office, asking me to come in as soon as possible to discuss a matter involving my conduct. That was my first clue that something was off. I walked into the district office that afternoon. Superintendent Rains was there, gray-haired, stiff posture, clearly uncomfortable. She gestured for me to sit across from her, and I did, cautiously. "I want to be transparent with you, Ms. Porter," she said, folding her hands. "A formal complaint has been filed against you." My stomach dropped. "By who?" I asked, though I already knew. "By Principal Benson." I clenched my fists in my lap. What is she claiming? That you organized a public smear campaign with intent to defame, create a hostile work environment, and incite harassment against school personnel. She also claims your son was never mistreated, and that you've manipulated other parents into submitting false statements. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She used my son's breakdown as a photo op. I snapped. She called him a robot in front of an entire classroom. There are statements, screenshots, witnesses. "I know," Rains said gently. "Which is why we're conducting a full investigation. But in the meantime, we have no choice but to place Ms. Benson on temporary administrative leave." Good. That's what I thought I wanted. But what came next made my blood run cold. "She's hired legal counsel," Rains continued, "and she's preparing to sue the district for character defamation. And she's included you in the claim." "What?" I leaned forward. "She's suing me personally?" "She alleges that you weaponized your son's diagnosis to publicly humiliate her," Rains said carefully. "She claims the photo used at the gala was misinterpreted and taken out of context, that it was meant to celebrate courage." I almost laughed. Almost. "Did she mention the text message she sent me?" I asked, pulling out my phone. "Because threatening a parent the night before a public event doesn't exactly scream innocence." I handed her the phone and Rains read the message. Her lips tightened. "This will help," she said quietly. "But it's going to get ugly. She's accusing the district of discrimination for removing her. She's painting herself as the victim of a parent-led witch hunt." A witch hunt. Because I stood up for my son. I thanked her and left, shaking with anger. I sat in my car for nearly an hour before I could drive home. That night, I told Liam that Ms. Benson wouldn't be at school for a while. He didn't ask why. He just said, "Okay," and went back to working on a cardboard model of the solar system. I kissed the top of his head and thought to myself, whatever happens, she's never touching my son again. But Benson wasn't done. The next day, a post appeared on a local parent Facebook group. A long, emotional open letter. From her. She described herself as a lifelong educator who had dedicated her life to children, who was devastated to be vilified by a false narrative pushed by a single parent with a grudge. She never named me, but it was clear. Everyone knew who she meant. Then came the worst part. She published a private behavioral report about Liam. It was redacted. Barely. But she referenced one student's multiple disciplinary challenges, social adjustment concerns, and emotional episodes. She framed it as a reflection of the school's commitment to inclusion, even when families work against us. It was illegal. It was unethical. And it was personal. Within hours, comments poured in. Some supportive, but others parroting her spin. I always thought that kid was off. If that mom's so perfect, why didn't she just transfer him out? Sounds like she used her son to make herself look good. I was livid and scared. Liam didn't know. I didn't let him online. But now his name was being whispered in school parking lots. He was being turned into the problem all over again. That night, I got another message, this time from a blocked numb. I didn't cry when I got the HR email. I didn't scream when I read the vague accusation that I was unstable and emotionally inappropriate around patients. I just sat there. Still. Cold. Because at that moment, something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was war. Let me be clear. I'm not the type who fantasizes about taking people down. I've been a nurse for 12 years. I've seen death, trauma, parents sobbing while holding lifeless hands. But nothing. Not one ER shift has ever felt as dark as watching someone weaponize my son's disability against him and then try to burn my life to the ground. So I did what every mother who's been pushed too far eventually does. I started digging. First, I reached back out to Kara, the journalist who published the first article. I told her everything. The legal threats, the Facebook post with Liam's redacted behavior report. The creepy playground photo, and now the HR complaint. Her voice was sharper this time. Focused. People like Benson don't operate alone, she said. You said someone's feeding her info. That's where we hit. She offered to connect me with a private investigator. Discreet, expensive, ex-cybercrimes unit. I didn't even hesitate. I wired the money that night. I couldn't afford it, not really. But I also couldn't afford to sit back and let this woman smear my son's name while quietly trying to destroy mine. In the meantime, I started protecting myself. I requested a full copy of the HR complaint. When they hesitated, I cited workplace transparency laws and followed up in writing. Once I had the document, I recognized the tone immediately. The phrasing, the passive-aggressive professionalism. It was Benson, or someone writing on her behalf. There were even mentions of a pattern of escalatory behavior towards school officials, and the possible influence of personal bias clouding her judgment when working with vulnerable individuals. That last line nearly made me laugh out loud. She was calling me dangerous for protecting my child. But I kept my cool, documented everything, forwarded it all to Kara, my attorney friend, and the PI. 3 days passed. Then I got the first ping back. The PI had traced the IP address linked to the anonymous HR complaint. It had been submitted through a public form, routed through a masking VPN, but the connection was sloppy. Guess where it originated? The front office at Westbridge Academy. Even better, the device had also been used to access Benson's private email account less than an hour before the complaint was filed. It was enough to raise eyebrows, but not enough to prove direct intent. Yet. The next break came from Kara. She called late that night, her voice shaking. Elena, I got something, and it's big. Turns out someone at the school, an internal staff member who asked to remain anonymous, had sent her a drive of exported emails between Benson and the school board chair, a man named Calvin Dunn. Guess who else serves on the hiring committee for my hospital's executive board? Yep, Calvin. Dunn. I nearly dropped the phone. Everything clicked. That's how Benson got to HR. That's how my private life became public ammo. That's how she's kept her grip on this district for years. Through favors, back-channel deals, mutual protection. And I was about to blow it wide open. We planned carefully. I collected every piece of documentation, every recording, every message, every statement from the other parents Benson had pushed out. And Kara worked with her editor to verify the email chain and its connection to Dunn. They were preparing a feature expose, not just on Benson, but on a systemic abuse of power that had allowed her to operate unchecked. Meanwhile, I prepared Liam. I told him gently that some adults might not like what Mommy was doing. He looked up at me and asked, "Did I do something wrong?" That's when I broke. No, baby. They did. He nodded like he understood. I think, in his own way, he did. Then came Friday morning. I dropped Liam off, sat in my car, and waited. At exactly 10 a.m., Kara published the article. Power, Privilege, and Silence, inside the elite school that punished vulnerability. It named names. It included the email trail between Benson and Dunn. It exposed how Liam's behavioral report had been illegally referenced. It called out the playground photo as an active safety concern. It revealed the conflict of interest between the school and my workplace, all tied together by one thing: a network of people who cared more about optics than children. Within an hour, it was on the local news. By lunchtime, it had hit state-level education watchdog pages. By 3 p.m., I got an email from the hospital. We are formally retracting the complaint filed against you. Our board has launched an internal investigation. I thought that was it, that we'd won, that I could breathe. But I was wrong, because at 6:42 p.m., I stared at the grainy image of the man in the car, and for a second, my brain refused to believe it. But there was no denying it. The jawline, the jacket, the slouch. It was him, Ben, Liam's father, the man who walked out the day after Liam's autism diagnosis and never looked back. He had refused every phone call, ignored every letter, never once sent a birthday card. And now, after 4 years of silence, there he was. In my car, laughing with Principal Benson. That was the moment something inside me went completely cold. She hadn't just been trying to destroy me professionally. She had found the one person with a reason to hurt me deeper than anyone else. And he'd agreed to help. The PI sent me a full report. Apparently, Benson had tracked Ben down weeks earlier, offered him a chance to step back in as a concerned father, painted me as an unstable, bitter ex using Liam to attack the school. She even offered to help him file for custody. Temporary, at first. Just enough to create legal pressure and make me back off. And Ben? He'd said yes, because he never saw Liam as a son, just a responsibility he'd run away from. Now he saw leverage. The final blow came the next morning, I got served. Emergency custody hearing, citing concerns about emotional stability and public behavior in light of my aggressive attacks on the school. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. For a full minute, I just sat on the couch, hands gripping the papers like they might disappear if I held tight enough. Liam came downstairs in his pajama pants, rubbing his eyes. "You okay, Mom?" I smiled, forced it. Just a lot on my mind. That was a lie. My mind wasn't full. It was focused. The hearing was set for 7 days later, 7 days to prepare for the fight of my life. I called Linda, my lawyer friend. I called Kara, who was already gathering more leads. I called the PI again, who confirmed the footage of Ben and Benson exchanging documents had timestamps that aligned with the day the anonymous HR complaint was filed. Then I made one more call, to the State Education Board, and I turned over everything. The hearing day came faster than I expected. We sat in a small courtroom, me on one side, Ben on the other. He looked smug, dressed like he was trying to impress a church committee. Benson wasn't there, but I could feel her fingerprints on every page of his petition. He claimed I was emotionally erratic, that I had created an unstable home environment for Liam, that I was obsessed with revenge and incapable of acting in my son's best interest. The judge listened quietly, then turned to me. I stood, calm, collected. I presented every document, the screenshots, the HR complaint traced back to the school, the photo of Liam on the playground, the timeline of events showing Benson's involvement. Then I pulled out the still image, Ben in my car. "Your Honor," I said, "this man has not seen or contacted our son in over 4 years. He never sent support, never asked for updates, never made a single effort to be in Liam's life. The only reason he's here is because someone with a personal vendetta tracked him down and fed him a story. This isn't about Liam. It never was." Then I played the final piece, a voice recording. Not illegal. Ben had left me a voicemail after the custody papers were filed. He didn't realize it would backfire. "This doesn't have to be nasty, Elena. Just step back from the school stuff and we can end this. I don't even want custody, not really. This is just leverage. You made some powerful people angry. I'm giving you an out." The judge's face went hard. And just like that, it was over. Custody remained solely with me. Ben was dismissed from any future legal claims without substantial cause. And as for Benson? That same afternoon, while Liam and I were eating ice cream to celebrate, my phone buzzed again. A statement from the State Department of Education had been released. Following the investigation, Principal Cynthia Benson has been found in violation of multiple ethical and legal standards regarding student privacy, retaliatory conduct, and coordination of defamation campaigns against guardians. Her educator's license is permanently revoked. Permanently revoked. 2 hours later, Kara forwarded me a photo, Benson being escorted out of the school district building. No clipboard, no fake smile. Just a woman who finally had to face what she'd done. These past months have changed me. I used to believe the system would work if I stayed calm, if I was reasonable, if I explained things the right way. But now, I know better. Sometimes you don't get to win by playing it safe. Sometimes to protect the people you love most, you have to burn the whole structure down and build something better from the ashes. Liam is thriving now. He's still in Miss Johnson's class, still obsessed with space. He recently did a presentation on black holes and ended it by saying, "Just because something."